But we are taking you live to Alice Springs, where the Northern Territory Chief Minister Leah Finocchiaro and the Northern Territory Commissioner Martin Dole are providing an update.
The result would be different, and instead what happened yesterday is police were able to reveal that we realised all of our worst nightmares had come true, and that the body of little Kumanjai, little baby, had been found. Late last night, police were able to arrest the suspect, which was incredibly relieving news for every single Territorian and, of course, the family. And then what happened last night is we saw rioting behaviour that required enormous police response and resources. And as a result of that behaviour, we saw police, fireys and ambulances attacked. Now, attacks on frontline workers are never acceptable. And whilst we appreciate and understand that people are very angry and grieving, there is never an excuse or an acceptability of violence as a response. And our police and our emergency services have a very important job to do, and we have to let them do that job. And so we are very hopeful that that was an isolated incident and should not define what has been an incredible community effort this week. We've seen this town come together like never before. Hundreds of people walking shoulder to shoulder through the long buffel grass, through the bush, to make sure we left no stone unturned. And I don't want last night to take away from that extraordinary effort that we have seen. And I want to take that opportunity to thank everyone who was involved, thank everyone who has supported the family, thank all of our police and emergency services for their incredible resolve and dedication and determination to make sure that we found Kumanjai, little baby. And now, of course, the very important police work continues, and we have to let our police do that work. Moving to today, there will be no takeaway alcohol here in Alice Springs today. I want to thank the leadership from our bottle shops and industry, the hospitality industry, for leading that charge. It's very, very important and will bring important reprieve to the community and our frontline workers. Tomorrow there will be limited takeaway between 11 and 2 p.m. Sunday is already highly restricted, and Monday and Tuesday are already grog-free days. I'll now pass on to Commissioner Dole for an additional update. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Just before I start, I just want to say my thoughts are with the police officers, the ambulance officers and the fire and rescue officer that was injured last night in the unacceptable behaviour that we saw carried out at the Alice Springs Hospital. So last night, the Northern Territory Police apprehended Jefferson Lewis. During that apprehension, our police were assaulted, ambulance officers were assaulted. We conveyed Mr Lewis to the Alice Springs Hospital, and shortly after, a large crowd gathered and tried to gain access to that hospital and access to Mr Lewis. Police responded, and we called out all the resources we had available to quell that violent disturbance. And just let me say that the behaviour that we saw last night cannot be explained away, excused or accepted. There is absolutely no excuse for violence against emergency services that are just doing their job. So for those people involved, you will face the law just as Jefferson Lewis is facing the law, and your behaviour will not be accepted by us. I just call for calm across the community today. We've seen incredible support and cohesion across the Alice Springs community in the last 5 days, and people have stood shoulder to shoulder assisting the police in trying to bring a resolution to this matter. And I'd like to think that what we saw last night is an aberration, not a continuation of future behaviours that we're going to see today. So I'd just like to thank the community for the support that we've seen so far, and call on strong leadership to quell that behaviour today, and hopefully we won't see any more of it continuing.
We're happy to take questions.
Can I ask the Commissioner, can you confirm how badly Jefferson Lewis was assaulted prior to his arrest? How bad are his injuries, and is he expected to be charged today?
So Mr Lewis was subject to a sustained attack. He did receive treatment at the Alice Springs Hospital. At the time of his apprehension by us, he was unconscious, and he was in the process of being treated by St John's Ambulance when they were set upon, as were the police. He's been given a fit for custody, has been released from Northern Territory Health, and he's with the Northern Territory Police in our custody. So his injuries aren't significant enough to keep him in hospital.
As well as the people that attacked emergency services, will the vigilantes that attacked Jefferson Lewis face repercussions, face charges as well?
Yes, they will, and this is what's concerning to the police, because our resources for 5 days now have been stretched, working 24 hours a day to bring resolution to this, and now to divert those resources to having to investigate senseless violence against emergency services is just something that isn't required.
Can you tell us how many emergency services personnel were injured last night and how bad the injuries are?
Yeah, so there was a number of police that were injured at the hospital. The police officer that responded to the assault and the arrest of Jefferson Lewis had to be treated and received stitches for a head wound. A Northern Territory Fire and Rescue officer received a significant facial injury and had to be treated at the hospital, and several ambulance officers were also attacked and received soft tissue injuries as a result of that violence.
What about any of the rioters? Were there any injuries there or any arrests so far?
There was one arrest of a female that was attempting to set fire to one of our police traffic sedans. She's in custody at the moment and is being investigated for attempted arson, and I don't have any details on injuries to any of the people engaging in conduct.
What equipment did you lose?
So our specialist TRG capability was present. We used less than lethal munitions and chemical munitions against the crowd.
And did you lose? How many vehicles went up?
We lost one police vehicle. We had 3 or 4 police vehicles significantly damaged. 4 of the 5 ambulances available in Alice Springs were taken out of action and damaged, and fire and rescue vehicles were also damaged.
It seemed that part of the trigger point for this was a call for traditional payback. How are you handling those calls for traditional payback?
Well, there's one law, Matt, and that one law applies to everybody, including the people that were involved in the violence last night. Now, Mr. Lewis is in police custody. There will be a prosecution commenced, and the court case will proceed. So I'm telling the community that that's what's going to occur, and that's what needs to be accepted by the community.
Do you expect further arrests will be made throughout the day?
Yes, I do believe there will be further arrests made today as we identify those behaving in that conduct last night.
Will Mr. Lewis stay in Dole?
Jefferson Lewis was able to be concealed for that period of 4 or 5 days?
Look, as we've been clear in the media since Monday, it's quite clear to us that somebody knew where he was or somebody was assisting him. For him to be able to appear in Alice Springs last night just confirms to us that he was getting support from somebody. My message to those people is look out, because we're coming for you as well.
The police think it's too dangerous for Jefferson Lewis to be brought back to Alice Springs, given last night's events.
He was removed last night for safety concerns for himself and emergency services workers. We'll have to do those assessments later. He's now in police custody, and I don't envisage that he's going to be out anytime soon.
Can you explain a bit more about the circumstances where he was found?
So my briefing is that he presented himself to one of the town camps in Alice Springs last night. As a result of presenting himself, members of that town camp decided to inflict vigilante justice upon Jefferson, and we received numerous phone calls saying he was in the process of being assaulted. We responded very quickly and we stopped that from continuing.
Last questions, please.
How are Kumanjai's little baby's family doing today?
As you would expect, they're still devastated. I mean, yesterday was the worst case scenario. Nobody wanted that outcome, and obviously we've wrapped around them and we're continuing to support them through the rest of the process.
Can I ask the Chief a couple of questions, if that's all right? Chief Minister, are you seeking any kind of federal assistance at this moment?
In respect to what, Matt?
In respect to the safety concerns around town, is there any call for assistance for NT Police?
And we want Territorians, particularly here in Alice Springs, to be really confident in the response and capability of our Northern Territory Police Force. They have this matter well at hand and are well resourced. We have more police coming down from Darwin today, but our team on the ground here are exceptional, and they are all local people invested heart and soul into this town, and you can see by the response they've provided this week just how dedicated they are. We've had police not wanting to go home shift after shift, and we're managing that fatigue because it's important we look after our people. But our people are fighting for this town as well, and they want to be involved, and so I think you can have great confidence that you will see here in Alice Springs high visibility policing right throughout the weekend, and that the matter is at hand.
Just confirming, what was the status of the bottle shops yesterday? Were they open still, or?
I believe yesterday was normal business.
Yes.
Is there a reason they weren't shut?
Well, it was a day like any other day. Yesterday was Thursday, and shops are open on Thursday.
He was arrested around like 9:30 at night though, and the body was found at midday. Was there a moment there that could have been like a chance to maybe crack down on this and maybe stop the riots in their tracks?
Well, I don't know that we're necessarily making links around the events last night with bottle shops being open. I don't think that's, I'm happy to hand over to the Commissioner. What we're saying today, though, is it's very, very important that things do not escalate and that we have important reprieve here in Alice Springs and in the Northern Territory. For people who are not from the Northern Territory, you might not be aware, but we have police standing on bottle shops as part of our precautionary measures. And so when we have that, it is a resource-intensive drain. So today we need boots on the ground where they're needed. We need a community supported, not standing out front of bottle shops. Our licensees have completely shown leadership in this space and recognise they want police where community wants police, and that's in community, not on bottle shops.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.